let's go, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around. An adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. You done the go. Whoa. Let's start the show. Oh. You done the go. Whoa. Let's start the show. Whoa. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via our One Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel. And welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on One Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education. And of course, we are here with you to share opportunities, events, activities. And later on, we will have a bit of a quiz. We have some fun ahead for all of our listeners. And so I want to, of course, say, since it's the first time I'm officially in studio for the month of February, happy Black History Month to all of our listeners, that as we celebrate our heritage, our culture, and the heritage and culture of Black people, not only in the Caribbean region but across the world during the month of February. So we will have a bit of a Black history focus this morning as well, to ensure that we are celebrating very important part of who we are as persons of African descent. Before we go into the program proper, I'd like to share opportunities for those who may have missed in the previous shows. We have a few scholarships still open, and persons who are interested in pursuing the various degrees at the tertiary level. It's important for you to know that you should be applying around this time for the August start for the fall 2020 to start. And so if you haven't gotten your documents together, you need to make sure that you're doing that. Make sure that you're applying so that you can be able to access the various opportunities. And so I'll go through some of the scholarship opportunities, because we know in any time, at any point, it is very strenuous to attend colleges. It's an economic investment of magnitudes that are sometimes difficult for some persons. And so any opportunity for a scholarship is, of course, welcomed and promoted. And so I'll share with you just a few of the scholarships, those that are available right now, those that are currently open, many of which will be closing out between this month and next month, so that those decisions can be communicated. And so we have the UVI Scholarship 2022. That's the first one. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis invites graduates of CFBC and the Nevis Sixth Form College to apply for the UVI scholarships. Persons who may have graduated years ago are certainly welcome to apply. So know if you graduated from CFBC or the Nevis Sixth Form 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you are included. It's not just for recent graduates. The scholarships are only available to graduates who are interested in undertaking studies at UVI for a maximum of 4 years. The following documents are required to be delivered to the Ministry of Human Resources, and we know that is located down at the Social Security Building, by Thursday, 31st March 2022. 1 original and 1 copy of your completed application form. 1 original and 1 certified copy of your birth certificate. Originals and certified copies of high school and college certificates of qualification. And 1 original and 1 certified copy of the university acceptance letter. Application forms are attached, are available, and of course they're attached to the notice, but you can get those physically or by reaching out to the wonderful persons there at Human Resources, Mrs. Shanola Murray-Gill, Mrs. Shelley Jones-Liburd. They will be able to help you. If you have any concerns, they will also be able to help you. And those 2 individuals are your contacts here on Nevis for all scholarships. We also have Miss Jamila Adams, and she is the contact at the Human Resources Department in St. Kitts. And so if you're listening from St. Kitts, of course you can feel free to reach out to Miss Adams. And if you need support while applying from the University of the Virgin Islands, your contact there is Dr. Eustace Esdale. He's the Professor of Accounting, School of Business, University of the West Indies, and his email address, or the email address, is sknrecruits@uvi.edu, sknrecruits@uvi.edu. And the contact number for Dr. Esdale, 869-664-7166. So note that you have your very own special email address, sknrecruits@uvi.edu. So if you're interested, please, and you need support from UVI, please feel free to reach out. We also have the scholarship from the Republic of Azerbaijan, and that's a scholarship for 2022. If you have not heard about it, let me spell it for you so you can feel free to Google. Remember, we are removing boundaries and limitations. There's no geographical boundary that will prevent us from being able to access our college opportunities. And so Azerbaijan is spelled Azerbaijan. And if you want to pursue a scholarship there, opportunity there at bachelor's, master's, or doctoral level, so it's at all levels, the scholarship covers tuition fee, monthly stipend, international flight once per year, and health insurance. And the monthly stipend covers your meals, accommodations, and utilities. So let me take you through this again. If you access the Republic of Azerbaijan scholarship, you are looking at tuition covered. You're looking at a monthly stipend. I know those of us who had to pay for those things, paying rent and meals and all of those things, added up really quickly. That is covered. Your international flight back and forth is covered for once per year. If you want to travel more than once per year, of course you would have to make provisions for that. But many persons don't come home for many years because they can't afford the international flight. That's covered. Health insurance is covered. I know that when we went to college on our own, we had to pay the health insurance. So far, I think everything is covered through this scholarship. It's a good idea to access that, at least do some research and see if it is something you'll be willing to do. The following documents must be included with the application form. Listen up. 2 certified copies of diplomas and transcripts, 2 copies of your passport, 2 notarized copies of the medical certificates, including HIV, hepatitis, and then once you are ready to go, you will have to send your 72-hour negative PCR test, 2 photos, and 2 copies of a resume and motivation letter. Applications and supporting documents must be submitted to the Ministry of Human Resources by March 4th. So we have just less than a month for this one. So do your research. There is a website, and once again, you can access everything I'm reading to you on the NIA Scholarships Facebook page. There is a website that takes you, a link that takes you straight to the application form. If you need supports, you know who to call, Mrs. Murray Gill or Mrs. Jones Liebert at Human Resources. And then we have the NIA Financial Assistance 2022, and we know each year the NIA allows for individuals to be able to apply for financial support in pursuit of their tertiary education, and this obtains this year as well. So the Ministry of Human Resources is pleased to inform that we are now accepting applications from persons wishing to pursue higher education and are interested in receiving financial assistance from the Nevis Island Administration. And an individual may apply for financial assistance whether or not the individual is employed by the NIA. That is very important information. The significance of financial assistance is measured by the government's priority areas, the individual's professional development, strategic objectives of the country, and the contribution their education will make to the wider community. Kindly note that law, medicine, and business do not form part of the priority listing for 2022. Interested persons must adhere to the following guidelines for applications to be considered. You would need a cover letter addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Human Resources, requesting financial assistance. This letter should state the course of study, why you wish to undergo the specified field of education, and how such training will influence your professional development, how will your professional development contribute to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the commencement date and expected duration of studies. 2. An original university acceptance letter. University applicants who have not received their acceptance are encouraged to still apply and provide evidence that they have applied to an accredited university. A breakdown of course fees from the respective university, and the completed financial assistance application form. And this must be done by March 31st. So March seems to be the golden month for scholarships. And so make sure that you're paying close attention to these dates. You know who to contact there at the Ministry of Human Resources at the Social Security Building at Peniz. All right, and then of course we have some open scholarships, both the Windsor University School of Medicine and the Ross University Veterinary Medicine Degree Program. They have open calls, and there is no date limitation, but they're open calls for persons who are interested in pursuing those fields. There is an open call for you. So the persons who are interested in health sciences, you can either apply to the University of Medicine and Health Services or the Windsor University, and those are in St. Kitts, and there is a scholarship opportunity. Similar to the Ross University, these scholarships are awarded for up to four individuals at any given time. So each year, 4 individuals are given the opportunity. Interested persons are asked to apply and be accepted to the University of Medicine Health Sciences, or to Windsor. Upon university acceptance, then you are asked to apply to the Ministry of Human Resources. Applications will then be forwarded to the St. Kitts Human Resources Office for onward processing. These are the documents that you need. Cover letter. Right to request a scholarship, please address to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Human Resources, Nevis Island Administration, Social Security Building, Peniz Industrial Estate, Nevis. You need an original university acceptance letter and 1 additional copy. You need an original birth certificate, proof of nationality or citizenship, along with 1 additional certified copy. Original high school or college transcripts, along with 1 additional copy. And as I said, there's no deadline, but it's important for you to get started early so that you can get through the entire process. And to apply to the University of Medicine and Health Services or Windsor University of Medicine, please visit the following websites, and there are 2 websites there that you can access using the NIA scholarships page. So please make sure that you take a look. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I have one more opportunity to share with you, and then we'll proceed. We'll be right back.
Sugar City St. Kitts, keep it sweet. Keep listening to Vaughn.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know, we're gonna have a great time. And now we're past it quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around, and adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go.
let's go, let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via One Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on One Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and I am here with you this Saturday and just about every Saturday to share opportunities, activities, events, anything that we can, and of course, my personal favorite, quizzes. And so we have been sharing quite a few opportunities. I will finish doing that. I have the last scholarship opportunity to share, and that is the Ross University Scholarship Program for a Veterinary Medicine degree program. Same as the previous scholarship which I announced from Windsor and University of Medicine and Health Services. It is open to 4 individuals at any given time for any given cohort who are interested in veterinary medicine, and the information needed is identical to what is needed for the previous announcement, for the previous scholarship, but we're encouraging all individuals who are interested in veterinary medicine to access, and Ross University is right next door, so you don't have to think about some of the other economic costs, but you can access the program right there on St. Kitts. Okay, if you need more information, please reach out to Human Resources in St. Kitts, Mrs. Jamila Adams; in Nevis, Mrs. Shanola Murray Gill or Mrs. Shelley Jones Liebert. Okay, so those are the scholarships available, and we want to encourage you to apply, to encourage your children to apply, your relatives to apply, because at the end of the day, we have to be mindful that we want to save as much money as possible, especially coming out of 2 very tumultuous years in relation to the pandemic and all that we had to go through during that time. Many persons were laid off, many persons were not able to get the income as per usual, and your children might want to still access these opportunities. We want to make sure that they can access in a way that is not going to put you in further debt, or as much as possible mitigate against that increased debt. So you have, even if you can get a 90% support or 60% support, that is more than nothing at all. So please consider accessing these scholarship opportunities. Just a reminder also that the Office of the Integrity Commission has an essay competition open for students between the ages of 15 and 19. Okay, so this essay competition is open to those students and the higher end of the education system, our teenagers 15 to 19, and I'll share with you the information around this competition. So the topic: corruption begets more corruption and fosters a corrosive culture of impunity. Corruption begets more corruption and fosters a corrosive culture of impunity. Okay, so students must be between the ages of 15 and 19 and be within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Submission deadline February 28th, 2022. Okay, so we have till the end of this month. Minimum of 1,200 words, maximum of 1,500 words. Minimum 1,200 words, maximum 1,500 words. The font size and style and spacing information: Cambria font, Cambria font 12, 1.5 line spacing. 1 entry allowed per student. Submissions must include a cover page to show the student's first and last name, date of birth, the school that the student attends, physical address, telephone number and email, word count, and a bibliography page. The essay must be the student's original work. No plagiarism. Don't copy anybody's work wholesale or in part and pass it off as yours. Essays with plagiarized work will be disqualified. The essay author's name cannot be mentioned anywhere in the essay. This will cause the entry to be automatically disqualified. All right, and note that the bibliography page, which is required, is not part of the word count. So you can do your full essay, get your word count captured, and then copy on your bibliography page, because that doesn't contribute to your final word count. Just to take you through the selection criteria, a committee of markers will examine the entries and select the best 5. These will be assessed by a selection committee for final selection. The decisions of the selection committee will be final and binding on all contestants. The evaluation criteria: comprehension and essential theme 20%, coherence and structural organization 20%, content and creativity 40%, language, style, expression and clarity 20%. And the awards: winner $750, second place $500, third place $250. The student must bring a physical copy of their essay to the Office of the Integrity Commission, Delisle Walwyn, top floor, Liverpool Row, Bastyr, St. Kitts, or here on Nevis, the Nevis Integrity Commission, Rams Complex, Stony Grove, Nevis. And please note that the 3 winning essays will also be published on the Integrity Commission's website. So that's the information for you there on the the Office of the Integrity Commission and the current essay under the topic: corruption begets more corruption and fosters a corrosive culture of impunity. And we are encouraging all students between the ages of 15 and 19 to participate, and I think it's a good, I love the topic. It allows us to be able to think about and probably explore effects of corruption, what corruption means, and all of those things. So I think that is something very important that all the students can reflect on as they try to navigate and enter the adult world and the world of work. And so parents, encourage your children to participate. All right, so of course we know it's the month of February, and if you have not noticed, many of our schools have activities happening right now, sports activities happening right now. So we are seeing evidence of cross countries, we're seeing evidence of road relays. I want to first of all commend all of the organizers and the coaches and everyone who has been working to implement these activities. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage all parents to exercise wisdom. I know that the excitement can be more than you sometimes, but I ask you to exercise wisdom in supporting children in these activities. We still have the COVID-19 virus. We are still encouraging all schools to make sure that protocols are in place as best as possible. We know that students, although it's an individual sport in the sense that they don't necessarily have to be in each other's personal space, they cannot run the duration of a race with a mask on. So we're encouraging parents to ensure that if you are present in support of your child, that you are wearing your masks and you're following the protocols at the school level. Please do not argue with the professionals at the school. We have a mandate to protect not only your child or your children, but all children. And so we're asking, as I said, for wisdom. We're asking you to ensure that you are protecting the other children by following the protocols when if you get into the school space. If you are along the roadway, same obtains. Please make sure that as far as possible that you are wearing your masks. If you're interacting with your own child, of course you are living within their space, but also remember that if you have to interact even by way of passing with other people's children, we want to make sure that they are very well protected. I know that the excitement is at an all-time high. We've had a 2-year hiatus and everybody is over the moon right now, but we want to remind you that wisdom should still dictate. All other information in relation to sports dates, all of those things will be circulated in the upcoming week. and so we will share with you some confirmations and of course the sports calendar at that stage. Okay, but we know that individual schools have shared, they shared the proposed sports dates. We know that since that point, we had the announcement that entertainment and sporting activities may resume, and so we will share that information, the confirmed information, with all of you. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for all that you have done and in support of your child, in support of the children, in support of education over the past 2 years. And as I said, even on the sports days, we are asking that we exercise wisdom as far as possible in the execution of all duties. All right, and so we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at some Black History info.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the powerhouse.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know we're gonna have a great time. And now we're past it quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's youth on the go. Youth on the go, whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go, whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go. I will learn new things, I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around, and adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go, whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go, whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go.
Let's go. Good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Von Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Von Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and we are here with you. It is the month of February. Oh, before I go on to that, I had one more announcement that I need to share. All are invited to the post-Valentine takeaway tea party hosted at the St. James Primary School on Wednesday, February 16th from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. And so if you are close by, and if you are not, you have a long time, a long window, 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. Go on over to the St. James Primary School for a takeaway tea party. So we're not hanging around or doing any of that. We're going in, we're going out, but support the St. James Primary School in this very important activity. I didn't want to miss that before continuing with the questions for today. Okay, so we are going to look at some places. Remember, at Black History Month time, in the month of February, it's important to realize that our history as a country, our history as a region, forms part of Black history, and sometimes we have the misconception that Black History Month should reflect African American history. So you would hear, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with this, you would hear predominantly about developments in African American history within the, of course, United States. We would hear about many of the contributors to African American history. So you would hear about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. You'll hear about all of the contributors to American history, African Americans who contributed to the development of the United States, and of course, by extension, impacting the world. We also want our students and our parents and the general listening public to realize that the developments here within St. Kitts and Nevis are part of Black history. the developments in across the other islands in the region are part of Black history. And if we can shift our focus a bit to recognize that this is also part of our history, I think that it would help us tremendously. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at some places which have contributed, which are part of our history as a people. And then of course next week we'll do a bit more. In the final week of the month, and between next week and the final week, we'll look at some people who are local to St. Kitts and Nevis, and then of course within our region who also contributed to our history. So as I said, we shift focus and we realize that we have several very important components to our history. What I will do first of all is to share, and I am reading from, so if you are at home and you have access to this book, we have this book throughout all of our schools, but if you have access to this book, you can listen up, and then I'll ask some questions about it. So I'm reading from the Places of Memory, and parents, you can purchase this book also. It was written by a Nevisian living in St. Kitts, Leonard Stapleton, and he was a history teacher. He taught here in Nevis, he taught history in St. Kitts, and he is now a published author, tour guide, historian, very, very, very active in sharing about our local history. So if you want to purchase the book, please ensure that you get it. It's a good book to have at home to learn about our history, and it speaks to the experiences and contributions of the enslaved Africans in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I'm going to start with a place that we don't usually talk a lot about, and it's called Russell's Rest, and it's located in St. James's Parish. All right, and so I'll read the components, and then we will ask some questions. So the description: the estate was originally owned by the Russell family. However, through very strategic marriages, it became the uppermost section of the Stapleton estate, which lay between the villages of Butlers and Brickhill. It was for a time a very productive sugar estate. It is now the present site of the Nevis Prison Farm. So we call it Russ. If you've heard of Russ, Russell's Rest. Okay? For many years during and after slavery, enslaved Africans and their descendants cultivated rough plots of mountain land at Russell's Rest. What is the significance of Russell's Rest? Russell's Rest is a place of memory that reminds us how the enslaved Africans adapted to life on the upland plantations by cultivating the poorest mountain side plots of the land that the planters deemed unsuitable for sugar cultivation. The enslaved Africans used these plants in very creative ways to aid in the survival of their offsprings and themselves. So that is the general information. I'll give you some historical background, and although it might be a bit lengthy, as I said, it's important for us to know our history, parents, and to be able to share it with our students. So the historical background: documented evidence at the Nevis archives suggests that at one point in time, around 1660, Russell's Rest was the largest estate in Nevis. Archival records also indicate that as up to 119 enslaved Africans worked and lived on the estate. The estate is named after Sir James Russell, who was the governor of Nevis and owner of the estate. He also became governor of the Leeward Islands. Oh wow, did we know all of that? That's a lot. That makes us very important. We had a governor here who is also the governor of the Leeward Islands, right over there in the St. James's Parish at Russell's Rest. Russell's Rest is a good example of the mountainside plantations of the Leeward Islands. What was domestic life like for the enslaved Africans on estates such as Russell's Rest? The following two witnesses provide us with a description of a typical slave village on these sugar estates. Two different points of view are given because the sources each had a stance on slavery. The first description is from the point of view of a pro-slavery advocate, Alexander Barclay. The following details were extracted from his book, A Practical View of the Present State of Slavery in the West Indies, 1823. In his description of the typical West Indian slave village, Barclay tells us that the most common size of the Negro houses is 28 feet long by 14 broad. Posts of hardwood about 9 feet long or 7 above ground are placed at a distance of 2 feet from one another, and the space between is closely wattled up and plastered. The roof is covered with a long mountain thatch, palmetto thatch, a dried guinea grass, either of which is more durable than the straw thatch used in this country. Cane tops are also used for the purpose, but are not so lasting. To throw off the rain, the thatch is brought down a considerable distance over the walls, which is in consequence looked low and the roof high. The house is divided into 3 and sometimes 4 apartments. The room in the middle, occupying the whole breadth of the house, has a door on each side to admit a circulation of air. This is the sitting apartment, and here the poorer class make fire and cook their victuals. The more wealthy have a separate kitchen at a little distance. The smaller houses have the sitting room in one end and 2 sleeping apartments in the other. Behind the house is the garden filled with plantains, okras, and other vegetables which are produced at all seasons. It abounds also with coconut and calabash trees. A coconut will be a meal to a man, and boiled among the sugar, which the Negroes frequently do, would be a feast to an epicure. It contains also about a pint of delicious juice called coconut milk. And it's interesting because in his account he spelled it cocoa nut, which is COCOA-nut. Of course, we know we've evolved and we refer to that as coconut, one word, COCONUT. So that's an interesting fun fact. The leaves, which are thick and 12 or 15 feet long, are shed occasionally all the year round, and not only make excellent fuel, but are sometimes used for thatch. The nut also yields oils for lamps and cups to drink of. So they use the coconut plant once we've gotten the water out as cups. No wonder it is so great a favorite that every Negro village looks at a distance like a coconut grove. This singularly valuable and beautiful tree, the fibrous part of which is in the East Indies manufactured into ropes and clothing, serves also purpose. From its great height, and perhaps in some degrees from the pointed form of its leaves, it is very liable to be struck by lightning, and it affords near a house the same protection as a metallic conductor. The calabash tree produced a large fruit, not eatable, but nevertheless valuable, as the skin of it is hard and solid substance like the shell of a nut, and when scooped out answers the purpose of holding water. Our cut across the middle makes 2 cups or dishes. Every Negro has his calabash, and many have them carved with figures like those which are tattooed on the skins of the Africans. They are used to carry out their breakfast to them when at work in the field, and from their lightness and strength are preferable for this purpose to almost any other kind of dish. Tin pans, however, are sometimes used in the garden too, and commonly under the shade of the low-out branching calabash tree are graves of the family, covered with brick tombs. All right. They have also their hogsties Poultry houses are not wanted. The chickens are carefully gathered at night and hung up in baskets to preserve them from the rats. The fowls lodge at all seasons in trees about the houses. The premises belonging to each family are commonly surrounded with a fence. Their provisions are generally at some distance. The ordinary class of Negroes have fixed beds, covered with deal boards and mats, on which they sleep under a single blanket or sheet, which is all that the climate requires. The rest of their furniture consists of a trunk or chest to hold their clothes, a small cupboard for their cups and dishes, iron pots and tin pans for cooking, a plain deal table, bench, and a few chairs. The more wealthy, of which the number has increased much during the last 10 years, sleep on beds filled with dry leaves of the planting tree, used also by the free people of color. The whole of their furniture, as I have before observed, is such as would astonish an English visitor, who, seeing it, would not easily believe himself in the house of a slave. And that, of course, is from a practical view of the present state of slavery in the West Indies, pages 313 to 316. It is obvious that Barclay thought, through his observations, were very informative, is portraying the enslaved Africans of having a relatively comfortable existence. His optimistic and positive view and description of the slave village was given to support his notion that slavery was not detrimental to the enslaved Africans in the West Indies, contrary to the cries and complaints of the abolitionists. And of course, whenever you have a perception or whatever your thoughts are, generally, you always make sure that anything that you share supports your thoughts. So we had that perspective of the slave village, and we're going to move on to another perspective of the slave village after we take a break. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughn Radio.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know, we're gonna have a great time. An hour passes quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around. An adventure is always waiting. The storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Let's start the show. Let's go. Good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Vaughn Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to another edition of Youth on the Go here on Vaughn Radio. I am Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and we're here with you to share information, activities, updates, anything that we can to assist and support the development of our students as well as our young people. And it is Black History Month. We are talking about Russell's Rest, and I'm sharing from the book written by Mr. Leonard Stapleton, Places of Memory, and we're speaking to the experiences and contributions of enslaved Africans of St. Kitts and Nevis. Leonard Stapleton, of course, is one of our divisions from right here, right over in Brickhill. He subsequently moved to St. Kitts and was a history teacher there after teaching in Nevis, and he has written, and he's a writer, presenter, he does historian, he does tours and educational sessions for persons, companies, anyone who is interested. We are reading about Russell's Rest, but if you would like a copy of this book, as I said,
They are available, and so you should be able to access those at one of our bookstores or by reaching out to Mr. Stapleton. So I shared a bit from the book, and I think we can take a pause for a cause. I'll keep sharing, but I would like to know from you, and we're going to start off with a very, very easy question that would get the ball rolling very early. Okay, so what can be found presently? What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? 469-1616, 469-1700. So that information was shared with you before. We talked about what was there back in the day, back in the time of slavery. What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? And while we're waiting for a caller for that question, I'm going to continue to share accounts of slavery as a historical background from the perspective of someone who was against slavery. Remember, we have a question on the table. What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? And that was shared with you earlier when we started the conversation on Russell's Rest. Okay, 469-1616, 469-1700. What can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest? Okay, so according to an anti-slavery advocate, lawyer James Stephen, who lobbied vigorously for abolition, he did not want slavery to take place. In his book, The Slavery of the British West Indies, Delineated, Volume 2, he gave a different description of the living conditions. And we have a caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Wonderful. Can you tell us, in a complete sentence, what can presently be found on the site of Russell's Rest?
The things that can be found on Russell is coconut.
Okay, so perhaps I need to reframe the question a bit. So it used to be a plantation many years ago. I'm going to give a clue to all listeners, but now there's another use for it. It's being used for something else. So it's no longer a plantation. There's something else at Russell's Rest. So what is it? Okay, so think about it a bit and give us a call. What is it being used for presently? Probably is a better way to frame it. Okay, so what is the site of Russell's Rest currently being used for? Okay, so I'm going to reframe the question. All right, 469-1616, 469-1700. So I'm reframing the question because I see that there might have been some confusion with the way it was phrased before. And so I'm going to reframe it as, what is the site of Russell's Rest currently being used for? I think that's a better framing. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Okay, listen into the phone and not to the radio because the radio is a little bit delayed, okay? All right, so are you ready to tell me what the site of Russell's Rest is currently being used for?
Yes.
Go right ahead in a complete sentence.
Prison farm.
Okay, can you give me in a complete sentence? Starting with the site of Russell's Rest.
The prison farm is found at Russell's Rest.
Okay, that's a good way too. All right, what is your name?
Tejan David.
Okay, Tejan David.
I'm in grade 2 and I'm 7.
Tejan, you are in grade 2? When did that happen? Oh my goodness, time is flying. All right, you're 7 years old. And can you spell your name to make sure I have it just right?
T. E.
Yes.
J. A. U. N.
Wonderful. I have it correct. Thank you so much, Tejan. Congratulations.
My name is Tajan David.
Yes, I have Tejan David. So what we'll do, and who's your class teacher? Which grade 2 are you in? Grade 2? Dedication. And who's your teacher?
Teacher Archibald and Teacher Sweeney.
Okay, thank you so much, Tejan. Make sure on Monday you tell Teacher Archibald and Teacher Sweeney that you called in and you got this answer correct, and we'll send your prize down to them, okay?
So when I'm getting the prize,
we'll send it down to your school on Monday. Okay? All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend. All right. Wonderful. So we have Tejan David, grade 2 dedication, winning that prize. Yes, the site of Russell's Rest is currently being used as the prison farm, and as you think of evolution of time, it's very interesting that the place that used to be a plantation is now the site of the prison farm. So you see how things happen over time. Okay. Who was the estate at Russell's Rest named after? Who was the estate at Russell's Rest named after? I mentioned that earlier, and I'm hoping that somebody heard it and remembers. Who was the estate at Russell's Rest named after? We may have an answer. Let's hear. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Wonderful. You're a student?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So who was this estate at Russell's Rest named after?
Sir James Russell.
Good. Good. And can you give me a complete sentence now?
Russell's Rest. This site, Russell's Rest, was named after Sir James Russell.
Wonderful. What's your name?
Kijari Huggins.
Tijari? And T-E or T-J?
K-I-J-A-R-I.
Okay. K-I-J-A-R-I.
Yes.
Huggins. What form are you in, Kijari?
I am in 3rd form.
Form 3. And so we will send that up to Gingerland Secondary for you. Okay, Kijari?
Okay.
You're very correct. Kijari, can I challenge you to tell me what role Sir James Russell played?
As in what he was?
Yes.
Yes. You mean the governor?
Yes. Perfect. Kijari, you're listening?
Yeah.
You're well informed. Well, thank you so much. And you have a wonderful weekend, okay?
You too.
Okay, bye. Okay, so, yes, he was indeed the governor of Nevis, and he became the governor of the Leeward Islands afterwards. So we're doing an excellent job, I think, of listening, and I for one, am excited about this information, and I'm hoping that parents, you are yourselves using this information, taking note of it. We shared some good information with you. Just quickly to reiterate, we spoke to Russell's Rest today. The original estate was owned by the Russell family, of course, led by Sir James Russell. However, through a series of marriages over time, it became the uppermost section of the Stapleton estate. That's a good bit of information to note as well, which lay between the villages of Butlers and Brickhill. It was for a time a very productive sugar estate. It is now the present site of the Nevis Prison Farm. For many years during and after slavery, enslaved Africans and their descendants cultivated rough plots of mountain land at Russell's Rest. Russell's Rest is a place of memory that reminds us how the enslaved Africans adapted to life on the upland plantations by cultivating the poorest mountainside plots of land that the planters deemed unsuitable for sugar cultivation. The enslaved Africans used their plants in very creative ways to aid in the survival of their offspring and themselves. And of course, as I said, we will share out the sports updates with you this week. And so look forward to that. Next week when we get here, we should be able to give you the confirmed dates and other logistical information. And we remind parents, as you support your students, as you prepare them for both their academic and athletic activities at school, that we continue to exercise the protocols, and we wish you all the very best. All the very best is wished to our listeners for the rest of the weekend and the duration of next week. We look forward to meeting with you and joining you and interacting some more next week when we'll have the ECCB Children's Connection as well as a continuation of our Black History celebration. Have a wonderful week. Whoop, whoop.